Hi, I'm Natalie Danner. I'm from the University of Illinois. I'm a doctoral candidate there, doing my PhD in special education. And my research is on early childhood inclusion in a public Montessori school, focused on how teachers provide access, participation, and supports to students with disabilities. So I did a case study that is a mixed methods case study, and I focused on one public Montessori school. It's a magnet school. It's in the Midwest, and I did interviews, classroom observations, and the Inclusive Classroom Profile, which is a tool that's used to measure the quality of inclusion in early childhood classrooms. I did interviews with 5 participants, 3 teachers, a special education teacher, a principal. I did classroom observations in 3 early childhood classrooms, and I observed there 3 times each, and I used the Inclusive Classroom Profile 3 times in each of the classrooms. And what I found is I grouped the interviews and the observations together. I did data analysis using a thematic coding process. And the Inclusive Classroom Profile, I did just basic averages for that. The interviews and the observations were actually very similar. And it came out with 3 major supports to inclusion. And the supports were the multi-age, multi-ability classroom. That's very specific to Montessori education, where we have 3, 4, 5, and 6-year-olds all together in the same classroom. And that's just naturally a multi-ability environment. So students with disabilities, as well as gifted students, really feel at home in that environment because they're no different than anyone else. Everyone's on a different level. What's also exciting about that is peer supports are just natural in those types of classrooms. So peer supports really help those students who might be more struggling in a classroom learn from a peer as opposed to learning only from the adult. Another support is offering minor modifications and accommodations in the classroom. So teachers are really successful when they do very small adaptations to how they give lessons. Sometimes they don't even view that as a special education technique, but it can make all the difference for that child with disabilities. Another support is teaming amongst professionals, because when you work with a child with disabilities, you're not working in isolation, you're working with a team of people. So you really need to understand those collaboration techniques and teaming techniques to make all of the decisions as a team and learn from each other to support that child. One of the barriers that's kind of interesting is not Montessori related, but system level policies can kind of thwart everything that's happening in the classroom at the school level. The policy that happened in this particular district is that they had exclusionary policies based on disability. So if a child had a more significant disability or severe disability, they excluded them and put them in a self-contained environment, which was not the Montessori classroom. So as soon as a child developed more needs than the district decided was possible to serve in the public Montessori school, they decided they need to go into a self-contained classroom, which is not what the teachers wanted or the principal wanted, but unfortunately that's how that district works. Implications for this study are really thinking about Montessori teacher training and focusing on serving more children with disabilities. So thinking about preparing those teachers for inclusive environments. Because whether we like it or not, whether we do it well or not, those are the environments that are out there. Kids with disabilities are in our classrooms, and we need to learn how to serve them better. We also really need to think about partnering with other families, agencies, and other places that serve children with disabilities and make them aware about the Montessori approach and that it is a great approach to serve kids with disabilities and all abilities. So I think an awareness kind of needs to happen. And also, since I only focused on one public Montessori school, it's really important to think about expanding the study and looking at a variety of Montessori schools, both public and private, to see what they do as far as inclusion. And beyond that, to look at outcomes of the students with disabilities in the Montessori programs. Do they have better academic, social outcomes, things like that. So